Okay, now that we have a simple component, we're going to go ahead and build on that and make it a little bit more complex. So starting off, let's go back to the Chrome to kind of see what we have. So under Livewire demo.test, I'm going to log in. It's johnexample.com. So right now we can create a company and it has some simple validation in place. So now what I want to do is I want to be able to edit a company within the same component. So let's go ahead and get started on that. So I'm going to start with a test. I'm going to create a feature test, and this is going to be update company test. I'm going to get rid of this. Okay, so start off by a user can render the edit screen. All we're going to do in this test is make sure that a user can view the screen, because right now we're just using a dashboard and that's really not practical. We're going to create a route for that. We're going to get the route companies.edit, and we're going to assign that to a response variable. So we want to make sure that only logged in users can view this route, but we'll drive that out with another test. So this get route company edit, and we need to pass through a company here. So that means we need to create a company up here. So company factory. No, this company model does not have a factory just yet. So we'll create that. So we'll have to create the company factory. Company will pass it in through the route, the named route of companies-edit or .edit that doesn't exist yet. And then all we want to do is assert OK. We could do a couple of assertions. So assert OK, we can assert the view is a specific view, or we can assert that the we assert see Livewire, and we could assert that we see that company component. So this test is going to make us drive out a bit more than the previous test. So let's go ahead and run this test. Okay, so there's no factory on the company model. So we can use IDEA to create a factory. And I am going to call this the company factory. And this belongs to company. All right, app models company. We're creating the company factory. Okay, I'm going to add that to the Git repo. And here it is. But the company doesn't know about the factory just yet. So let's go to the company model, and we got to add the trait as factory. All right, back in our test, let's go ahead and refresh or rerun that test actually. And company name doesn't exist. So we need to make sure our factory creates the correct data. So name is going to be this faker, and we'll call this company. Run the test again. Now state doesn't exist. So call it state, and I don't know if there is a state. So what do we get from street address? I don't know. So we'll just do word. So run the test again, and now the route company's edit is not defined. So we'll go to our web route. Okay, so let's get this route going. It's going to be our GET request to companies / the company / edit. Okay, so using Livewire, we can specify the component. So company component class. And what that will do was it will load our company component using the app.blade file. So let's go ahead and just try this out, see what happens. So route company edit is not defined. That's because we didn't define a name. So name equals companies dot edit. Run that again, and we received a 500, but we should have received a 200. So we'll go to the test, and we could add at the top this without exception handling, and run the test again. Function does not exist, so something's wrong with our web route. Okay, so I shouldn't be passing it in as a array. Just call the company component. Run that again. Trying to get name of non-object on the navigation blade. So that is because we are not logged in. So if we go to that navigation blade and it is trying to get name of non-object, so we'll just try to find name. There we go. So it's trying to get the authenticated user's name. But we are not authenticated when we're hitting this route. So let's go ahead and got to do a few things. So we will create a user. Actually, we'll use Livewire acting as, and then we got to specify a user. In this case, we could just create a user factory here and create. Clean that up. And we get another 500. So let's run that undefined variable header. Okay, so we got to define the header. So X slot header, and we'll just run test for now. So now we're green. So what that means is in this test, we authenticated as a new user. We sent a GET request to the company's edit page, and we're acting as this user. So another way you could do this is if we were to just take this off, and we'll just create a user variable. And then in this request, we can do acting as user. So maybe this is a little bit more readable to you. Acting as the user, we can send a GET request to companies.edit, the named route, and we pass in a company, and we get an OK, which is a 200 response, and we assert that the company component is loaded. So run that test once more. We are green. So this test was pretty simple, but we got some more of the structure in place. So let's create another test here. So on this test, we're going to assert that a user can update a company. So a user can update a company. Okay, so again, we need a company. Okay, and now we want to create the component, and we're going to do Livewire test. So now we're not going to send any more GET requests or post requests. All we're going to do now is test against the Livewire component itself. So company component class, and we want to load the company onto that component. So company. So what that means is if we go back to the dashboard, we can pass in a company by doing something like this. So company equals company. So just for testing, let's go ahead and define a specific name. So the name is going to be Acme, and the state is going to be Texas, right? So that means when we update it, these values should be different. So if we add company, set name, we want to set that to Google, and then we want to set the state to California, and this should be component, not company. So component, and now we want to call the component save method. So right now it's called the create method. We're going to update that name to be called save. Makes more sense. And then once these three actions take place, what do we want to assert? We want to assert that the database has the company's table has our correct data. So another way we could do this, we just tap the first company. So company first, and we'll pass in the closure, and then we'll pass through that company. And in this case, all we have to do is assert equals the Google is going to be the company name, and the company state is going to be California, right? So that just basically different way of doing it. So we could assert that the database has it, but here we are just querying the first company and passing it through and asserting what we need to within the tap function. So I'm gonna hit this test again, enable the call method save. So save doesn't exist. So let's go ahead and go to the company component. And we're just gonna break this and we'll fix it here in a bit. So save. Okay, we're failing because these two are not the same. That is because we are passing through a company, but we are not ever using that company within the component. So if we come up here and we'll create a new method called the mount method, and we'll pass through a company. So if we DD that company and run that test, you can see that this company is the one that was created in this factory here. So this factory is getting passed through the Livewire component, and we are grabbing it within the mount method. We can see the Acme and the Texas state. So what we want to do is assign it. So we want to create a new property and we'll call it company. And now this company is going to be equal to the passed in company. Okay, so we're still failing that this is correct, is because we are creating a company and we really want to be updating this company. And we want to call update. Refresh, and now we're green. So what that means is we are creating a company here. We're passing it through the component. We are setting the new name to Google, the new state to California. We're hitting the save method, and we are asserting that all that information was updated within the component itself, right? So this test is passing. So what does that mean for our previous test though? So if we go back to our previous test to create company, now this is failing. So now that we refactored it, we got to update our test to work with the new component, with the latest version of that component. So we are trying to hit the create. It should be save. Let's just run these tests, see if we can fix it really quickly. Asserting that row company matches the attribute name and Acme. So one thing that we have to do is, if you notice here, we are passing a component in, but we should set this to null. So we'll use a null object pattern, and we run an if condition. So if the company, if it has a company, so if it's not null, then we are going to assign the passing company to this company, a property. Now, if it doesn't, we want to assign this company equal to a new company, right? We're not going to define any other attributes on it. All we're going to do is create a null object, when this is called the null object pattern. So if there's a company, we pass through the company. If not, we give it a null company. And that allows us to set the properties and then save it. So let's run the test again. And again, we are still in the create company. So we're back to our first test that we were in, and asserting that the row. So this is asserting that this doesn't exist yet. And that is because we are setting the name and state. What we want to be setting is the company name and the company state. Now refresh that. Now we cannot bind property company name without a validation rule. So when you're using a component, you have to define the rules if you want to use a model here. So we can get rid of these two public properties. So these two need company.name and .state. So now we don't have to pass in any of this information. So now all we have to do is run save. So we're setting the name and the state directly on the property. We don't have to specify that information here. All we have to do is save that component. So now if we go back to update company test, if we go back to the create company test, so this one's passing. So this one is failing. And that's because property name is not found. So we need to set company name and company state and change the call to save. And the error should now be company.name. So we got to update a few of these. Not that big of a deal. So company's name, company state, save, and then the assert has error company.state. So we're green all around there. Go back to the update test, and we are red. User can update the company. That again, we were not setting the company name and the company state. Now we are passing, because we are passing in the model attributes instead of the public properties. So we cleaned up our component just a little bit by removing 2 properties. We did add some complexity to it, but now it is reusable for both creating a company or updating a company. Okay, so we still need to update the UI. So if we go back to the company component and the wire models, we need to make sure we pass through the company name here and the company state. And the save button should be created, actually. I mean, the creator should be save the button. So let's go ahead and go back to Chrome, refresh here, and save. We also have to update the error name. So I'm just going to do this really quickly with company. Go back to Chrome. And now we are getting the validation. So second company. We'll call this from New York. Save that. And if we go back to Table Plus, refresh, we do have a second company. Okay, since we did specify this web route here that allows us to edit the company. In Chrome, we can go to company's ID and then the edit form. So go to Table Plus, you can see 7 and 1. Those are the 2 IDs that we have. So if we go to 7, second company is here, New York is here, and we could update that company. So we'll call this 7th company because that's the idea of it. So save, refresh. Now this company name is called the 7th company. So there's no kind of successful message, but this is, and this UI looks kind of weird. So let's try to fix that really quickly. And if we just go ahead and take a look at the dashboard, we're going to just take this here and we will call this edit company. And we're just going to plop this in there. And we don't need the Livewire component. We can just take this form, dump it in there and clean that up. So, I mean, we could extract this out to a blade component. And I think that's what we'll do, just to clean this up a little bit more. But now we're back to this same view here. So yeah, so that's fine. We got the dashboard here, and we can go into a specific company by going to company/7/edit. And if I spell that right, it'd be edit. And we can edit a company. So New Jersey, save that. It's working. We still need some validation. And we still need some kind of prompt to let us know that it was updated correctly. But we are reusing the same component for creating and updating a model. So just to clean up a bit, since we are injecting this method dependency company here, we don't actually need this if else. So we can get rid of all this and just use this company. So if it's null, it's going to assign a empty company model there. So just want to clean that up.